on to Alaji Barrow. Now, there was a time when shame was a powerful force in public life, including politics. That time, sadly, is not now, as Alaji Barrow argues in today's essay. He makes a thinly veiled reference to the nauseous theatrics of one politician in particular, but in truth, there are far too many of them out there, especially around the president. Shame, you see, controls our lives in many powerful ways, and even though its rules are not written, we expect people to follow their sense of shame as a moral compass. And when it comes to public figures, such as political leaders, we have even greater expectations for their moral standards. And that's why many of us are worried, because increasingly our political leaders have become shameless. Take it away, Alaji.
A requiem for shame. Someone defined shame as a painful emotion that arises from an awareness that one has fallen short of some standard, ideal, or goal. When a society mass vaccinates itself from this painful emotion, it becomes a shameless society that thrives on immoralities, including lying, breaking promises, duplicity, inconsistency, greed, corruption, betrayal, and selfishness. In a society where shamelessness thrives, morals, principles, values, and ethics all die a slow and painful death. Look at what obtains in Gambia today, and you may understand what I mean. In this colonial space we call Gambia, shame used to thrive in our homes. Shame used to reside in our hearts. Shame loomed large in our interactions. It guided our behavior. It gave birth to dignity and pride. It sired honor and principles in us. Shame used to be valued, and some people guarded it with their life. They would rather die than lose shame. Everyone listening to this piece today knows shame. And today, we are all witnesses as we stand and watch shame die a slow and painful death in our homes, within our politics, among friends and neighbors. For some of us, in fact, for too many of us, along this journey of life, we sacrificed shame for fame, for political power, for borrowed privileges, and for ill-gotten wealth. Some of us are still searching for shame, while others have long since settled for shamelessness. And that is because shamelessness gets you good government jobs. Shamelessness gets you opportunities to travel and mingle with people considered important. Shamelessness gets you wealth. Yes, shamelessness gets you closer to powerful politicians. Can't you see how we have swapped shame for legality? Can't you see how shameless one has to be in kneeling before a fellow human being, groveling at their feet because of some worldly opportunity? While political mesalliance grounded in opportunism is hailed as genius today, shame would have discouraged anyone from licking their own vomit. And while shame would have frowned upon anyone making promises only to turn around and break them, today, many among us settle for the dictum that a promise is a comfort to a fool. As we gather here today, we cry for the resurrection of shame among us. We pray for shame to take its rightful place among us. We pray for shame to come back and guide our conscience. We pray for shame to permeate our society so that we can banish the diseases of broken promises, so that we can cure inconsistency, so that we can heal from hypocrisy, so that we can reject opportunistic politicians, so that we can avoid self-dealing public and civil servants. We pray for the return of shame to unite us. We pray for the death of shamelessness, which has led to the birth of dirty politicians. Shame, the people of this colonial space need you now more than ever. Please do not abandon us, because our people, the farmers, the teachers, the police officers, the low-ranking security officers, the taxi drivers, the nurses, security guards, drivers, students, and those suffering in silence all need you back. By our greed, we have neglected our duty to each other as a people. By our greed and desire for wealth and privilege, we have adopted fankum fankum and abandoned our communitarian inclination. Please, shame. We are on our knees. Please come back to us. Enter our minds like you did the men of yore, those who would rather die than be shamed. Please build us so that material wealth, government jobs, and privileges will not blind us to what is wrong. Shame, please guide us so that we don't adopt lies, all in the name of protecting our privileged positions. Shame, in the name of our God, please come back to us. We need you today more than we've ever needed you. Shame, please come back to us.
That's Alaji Barrow. Wow, what a day it's been for us here. I mean, I still have the Shola Mahoney podcast, but I think I'm going to leave that until next week. So my apology again, having to defer the Shola Mahoney podcast, but I think with Salieu Taal already in the studio and not being able to do more than 17 minutes, I think we'll go straight on to the next thing. It's been 8 years since the catchphrase "Gambia Has Decided" was coined in response to former dictator Yahya Jammeh's vain attempt at subverting the will of the people by declaring null and void the 2016 presidential election he had earlier conceded to Adama Barrow. And why? On account of an inconsequential result collation blunder by the IEC. But what has this 2016 decision meant for the country? Now 8 years under Barrow's rule. I suppose that's what you are here to let us know, sir. No, don't push away my microphone because the people need to hear you exactly. All right, so there you go. Oh, you wait until you are in court. All right.
This is your court, I guess.
Exactly.
As it pleases.
Yeah. The Gambia
Peter
has decided. 8 years. Congratulations.
First of all, I really, I'm just digesting the erudite Mr. Barrow, his poem about shame. Alaji. And I can relate to it. And I tell you why.
Why?
Just a quick genesis. Part of the reason that spurred me to I initiated the social movement, but it belonged to everybody, is I felt shame that I am a Gambian who's very lucky and privileged in many ways, got a very good education and got a fairly good life and lived very well, and a lawyer, but lived under a system, a dictatorship, where I tried financial as a lawyer, but my dignity as a Gambian was trampled on, and I felt helpless about it. I was actually ashamed of calling myself a Gambian, educated Gambian, and unable to change my country's destiny. And I looked around the educated class. I said, we're all part of this. We're all complicit in this. Because, frankly, many of us were doing well, which is minding our business. So that shame, to me, that was like, is actually, after the election results, we all jubilated and the rest of it. And we have to give credit to all those who really fought for generations, for decades before people like us came at the tipping end. And I said, look, what can we do for our country? I called my friends, and people that I've worked with in different areas, because we used to do a lot of, during Jam era, we did a lot of social work, but not political work. We'll go and help communities and so on and so forth. So we had a network that was actually very, very active. In fact, Talib Bensouda was always working with us. Oh, okay. We were going to communities, but we did it quietly. We didn't make noise about it, because even in those days, we did Ebola-free Gambia, for example. We did a good job. But in those days, even if you do something good, you're afraid of being arrested because you might be seen to be trespassing.
Yeah, you were afraid of
Oh
having,
yeah, in fact,
having a name.
In fact, we were actually called at the NIA when we did this Ebola Free Gambia, because we had a container that came from Raleigh and other places, and they were asking us.
Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah, and I think some of them were part of it was a group that was really fighting to restore democracy. So we had to really disguise their identity. So that shame is really what got me to say, look, what can we do? We went and voted and took back our mandate for a clean slate to change Gambia. And one person decided one day that, yes. In fact, the word Gambia Has Decided came from him in his speech. He actually said it. And then a couple of days later, he said, in fact, he's canceling the election, and the IEC people are not God-fearing, and so on and so forth. So that shame for me was like, man, as a Gambian, and all these smart Gambians within and outside, how can we allow one man? So it really resonates. And I think the difference between human beings and animals is having the dignity and the fear and of consequence of your action or inaction. I think that's very, very important. And I'm sorry, this is something that is inculcated in you from early age. Yeah, yeah. So coming back to
the question.
Yes, Gambia Has Decided is not what do you call it? You call it
catchphrase.
It's not a catchphrase.
What is it?
Gambia Has Decided is
it's not a movement, is it?
No, it's actually a movement.
Okay.
It's a movement. It's a catalytic social movement that was reduced to a hashtag. And the hashtag is more than a hashtag, because that hashtag is an embodiment of the collective will of Gambian at that point in time. Because when every Gambian saw himself in those simple words, Gambia Has Decided, because we decided. We were just the catalyst of this, but it went beyond our control. We saw a gap.
Okay, but was this something only for that point in time?
I'm coming.
Okay.
We saw.
We may not have as much time as we had for the commissioner.
Very well. Because of course the commissioner pays bills. I don't pay bills, so it's okay. It's for, okay. See, this is how it works. But I accept. Look, the reason why the commission is able to sit here is because partly because Gambia Has Decided. Let's remember that.
True.
Okay. So basically, we wanted to bring Gambian voices together and speak with one unified voice consistently, strategically, to tell Jammeh. For the first time in the history of Gambia, we collectively defied Jammeh in the Gambia. Because when we were doing this, we were living in the Gambia, us living in the Gambia. We were going out, distributing T-shirts, putting up billboards when the army was around the country.
Living in the Gambia with names and faces.
We made videos with our names and faces saying we have decided. And everybody decided. The diaspora supported locally. And that was the first time Jammeh, before you had Solo Seneng protested and they were arrested and beaten up, the women, the Kalam women. But in terms of en masse, this was the biggest time Gambians within and outside defied Jammeh so openly and brazenly in a way that he could not control. Because people were being arrested. You were being arrested for wearing T-shirts. They're bringing down our billboards. And then we will erect more billboards. We made stickers. And it was uncontrollable. It went viral because everybody saw themselves in it. That's why it was a hashtag that inspired hope in the possibility of Gambians standing up to dictatorship and turning to a new page. And also, it actually gave the international community, let them gauge the extent to which Gambians have turned their back to Jammeh, because the difference between Jammeh, the election was a bit over 19,000. It was a close call. When the international community saw that Gambians almost, locally and internationally said no, that gave them the courage to support us, because they now know that this is the people of Gambia and the sovereign people of Gambia have turned their back to Jammeh, and they had to do something. That actually played a big part.
So that was important.
Yeah, and because even behind the scenes, we were actually dealing with them at very high levels. We can't discuss this because some of these things are confidential. Now, for us and everybody, because when we started as a small group, but we expanded to the university, we worked with Activist NYP,
National
like
Youth
Parliament, people like Immortal X, if we came over. I mean, every youth leader in the country was part of it. NYC, we started with
NYC National Youth Council.
Of course. So that's why it went all the way to the provinces. We used their networks to distribute, and they're the one who amplified it.
That must have been scary to Yaya Jammeh.
Yes, because he didn't know where it came from. Because people like us are not expected to do these things because we had a fair we were not. I mean, in as much as living in Gambia, you could go to jail or you could die, but otherwise we were living our lives normally, as long as you avoided crossing the line. But I mean, at some point, we said enough is enough. So really, the goal of Gambia Has Decided. That's why I say it's a success. I mean, I travel around the world speaking about this. I was in Guatemala 2 weeks ago. I've been all over the world speaking about this as a model of catalyzing change to social movements. Our goal was very single in the sense that we wanted to reaffirm and reassert and amplify the decision of Gambians that they have changed a dictatorship and want to usher a democracy. And that has been done. Nobody can deny that. That was done. Because we voted, he said no, and people said, no, we're not going to accept you canceling or taking back our voice. And of course, Economic came and he ran away. And that day I was there in the room when President Barrow was being sworn in. That day in Dakar, in the embassy, it's all Gambia Has Decided t-shirts. At the stadium when he was being sworn in, we had nothing to do with the decoration. We came to the stadium and found all Gambia Has Decided. We had zero to do with it. It became a national project, national pride. What did we expect? We expect that we are going to move from a government where one person behaves like a king and owns us to a system where we have democratic values, where we are in a republic that has 3 functioning arms of government that provides checks and balances, an independent judiciary, a national assembly that would provide oversight to the executive, and an executive that would ensure that there are policies that would uplift Gambians. And importantly, underlying all these arms of government was a promise of a constitution fitting for democracy. Because the constitution we have, that Jammeh gave us, that he changed more than 50 times, was a constitution designed to help him stay in power and gradually reduce the powers, the ability of the arms of government to hold the executive accountable. So Jammeh was like a king, but a king whose powers came from a constitution. Comme like they say in French, l'état c'est moi. Jammeh c'était l'état in Gambia. Everything he wants happens. Not only that, he can even almost make laws outside the constitution. He locked up people, an imam, for praying, defying orders. He made an order that nobody should pray in a particular day. An imam prayed. The police took that imam to court and charged him in this Gambia. This has happened in this Gambia. And everywhere you go, you see his picture. I mean, it was all about gratifying one leader. Where are we now today?
Where are we, indeed? I was going to ask about the gap between aspiration and reality.
I think the glass is not half empty. It's not half empty, half full. It's in the middle. I'm like to be constructive. The fact that I can sit here and speak about this shows that in Gambia, we're free to speak our minds without fear.
That was guaranteed the moment we kicked the tyrant out of town.
Yes, and that, Adam Barrow did not give it to us.
Yeah.
Is the Constitution.
It needs to be underlined.
Very clearly.
Yeah.
Adam Barrow, I will not praise Adam Barrow for not locking anybody up arbitrarily, or for not prosecuting, because he's not supposed to do that. The bar, we cannot compare Adam Barrow's government with the low bar of Yahya Jammeh.
Yeah.
Adam Barrow will judge him as a government that is governed by
who delivers on our aspirations.
He was supposed to deliver and promised to do so, and was elected to do so. In his own manifesto, it's very clear. He promised to repeal all the draconian laws that stifle media freedom. And that has not happened.
Well, we're told there's a new bill coming.
I mean, 8 years, Peter. When they wanted to change the age limit, how long did it take for it to happen?
Almost instant.
Everything that they wanted to change happened like yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, they just changed the vetting bill. I mean, they're changing, whenever they want to change things, it happens like yesterday. If they were really interested in, why didn't we have the Constitution as the force out of business? Why not? That's the foundation. You're building a house. Before you start doing your roof, do your foundation. They didn't do that. Oh, the majority of changes that have happened, and I blame both the Executive and National Assembly. I'm sorry, they have been very self-serving, not really serving the people of Gambia.
Everybody says this.
They have everything that benefits them, from their salaries to their conditions, you name it.
Alaji Barrow calls them the Prado MPs.
And the pickup MCs. From pickups to Prados, maybe next, what is going to be a private jet. I mean,
They're going to ask for the OIC type vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, no, the OIC, I mean, look at them. I mean, 2 day meeting, and you have, I mean, V12 and fancy Mercedes in this poor country.
Yeah.
I mean, really, so for me, I mean, in terms of legal reform, we have it. I know the bills are in Parliament, and they've been languishing there. The criminal offences bill has been there for so long, and the Constitution was rejected the first time, and it was supposed to have been tabled, a couple of days ago. Now it's been shifted. I don't know why. So, and also what is being tabled is they're recycling 1997. Everything that make Jammeh is one Barrow wants to have in the Constitution. So I asked my colleague Dawda Jallow, who is a very seasoned human rights lawyer, very brilliant, how can he, under his watch, allow those provisions to be put into the 2024? If I was him, I would resign, as a matter of principle.
You think he will?
That's up to him.
I'm asking you, do you think he will?
I cannot speak for him,
Okay.
but Salieu Taal, I would resign, because as a person of conscience...
He's defending that constitution in the National Assembly.
Because he's the leader of the bar. You know, in Uganda, the Bar Association disowned the Attorney General of the bar because he acted against the tenets of what it means to be a barrister and a man of rule of law. Those provisions are those provisions that are left taken from the 1997, put in the ones that 2020 removed, that they put back, are the provisions that will help perpetuate Adam Barrow in power, that will help make it difficult for the National Assembly to hold him accountable. So that means they don't want Adam Barrow to be held accountable. These are facts. I challenge any lawyer to come otherwise. That is not a way a Republican constitution should be. A republic, as opposed to an empire or a kingdom, is governed by the people who delegate their power to institutions, executive, legislature, judiciary.
I'll ask you a question I asked former Vice President Bakari Bunja Dabo yesterday. So, where do you stand on the 2024 Constitution? That the National Assembly should go ahead and pass, and then we continue working on some of these, problematic clauses, or to reject it outright? My position is this: let it go to committee, right? That's second reading. Because we have to be pragmatic. Let it go, because the second reading is just a question of whether we agree in principle that we should have a constitution. So I think in principle we know that We need it.
We need. I mean, and definitely the 2024 is better than 1997. That's a fact, right? Even though I don't like it in many ways, but it's better. But I don't want to accept it, even though it's better. I'm not just because it's better than 1997 doesn't mean I'll accept it. I wanted to go to the committee, and we reverse all those self-serving provisions that were removed in the 2020, and then put it to the plenary, and let it be a political question, right? Because if the government of Gambia should tell us, right, whether they want to take us back to Yaya Jammeh or a new path, it's very clear for me. It's a political question,
okay,
right? So when we go to committee, all of us will make representations and tell the government that a constitution is not written by government, it's written by the people through consultation, genuine consultation. And they have not been sincere and honest about this because they have not consulted civil society.
Well, they insist civil society.
It is not true.
Has been consulted.
I was the president of BAR, and Nene Cham was my successor, and we have not been consulted. I am chairman.
Are you suggesting your friend? You call him your friend. The Attorney General, Minister of Justice is misleading people by saying.
I mean, you can interpret it in any way you want.
Civil society was not
and
consulted.
Last week we had a convergence meeting organized by NHRC, and in our communique, unequivocally, civil society unanimously has made it clear that we're not consulted. So these are facts, undisputed facts, because we're not children. Consultation and informing people what you're doing is different.
Absolutely correct.
Because I was there in the beginning when International Idea came, when President Jonathan came, and Iman Chambers. And we had a briefing meeting, and I stood up there, I told them, look, we are not here to be briefed. We're here to participate. All you do is giving us briefing. They've been briefing us. They were talking with the political parties to negotiate with them, and they'll come and brief us. And after that, I told them, I'm not going to participate again because I'm not a child. I mean, let us be honest.
Okay.
These are facts. They did not consult.
So civil society, according to Salieu Taal, was not, underlined, not consulted
not.
as claimed by the executive.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And let them tell us which, because Tango wasn't consulted, NYP wasn't consulted, Activism wasn't consulted, GBA, the major, who did they consult?
Good question.
Yes, let them tell them. Who?
We'll ask them.
And you can ask those people, they can come and explain. So let's be sincere first. Not to be everybody. You want to dig up. Let's tell the truth. It's better to be honest and say, okay, we didn't consult. What are the bridge? And what now? How do we now fix it? But the moment you are insisting on something on truth, it taints the whole process. If you're being untruthful about something like this, how can we trust you down the line?
Good question.
How can we trust you down the line?
Good question. And you keep coming up with great questions. Unfortunately, Sal, we have to leave it there.
Yeah.
But don't worry, I'll bring you back here.
Yes.
I'll bring you back
anytime.
There's a lot that we can cover.
Anytime. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. That's Salieu Taal. He's a lawyer and activist. And that brings us to the end, finally, of this super extended edition of Coffee Time with Peter Gomez. Thank you very much for your time. I'll be back tomorrow. It'll be a much shorter edition. Have a very good day. Bye-bye now.